All right, good evening. This is Sunday night. We're going to talk about NQ futures. I'm going to switch things up a little bit, and we're going to talk about individual futures and videos to keep things quick. At the same time, I've gotten requests where people are asking to split up the video instead of talking about everything in one video. They're just interested in NQ futures or just ES futures or specifically tied to oil and specifically tied to VIX. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to split things up into different videos. Hopefully this format is really good for everyone and it helps. So let's get started. If you have any comments, leave those comments below and make sure you hit that subscribe button. So let's talk about NQ. What's going on with NQ? It's been on a tear, pretty much up, right? And there's going to be some breathing room. So let's see what's going on, right? What's going to happen in the next few days, at least in the short term, at least in the near short term, because we got holiday seasons coming, and at least we're in the core of that, right? And then after New Year's, we either before New Year's have a Santa Claus rally, or we're gonna have one towards the beginning of next year, right? It all depends. But what's gonna happen, right? From a technical perspective, what are we looking at when it comes to NQ futures, right? And so here it is, right? This is the chart. I usually, when I'm taking a look at it from a swing perspective, I'm going to look at it on a daily chart. I'm not going to be looking at an intraday chart. Those are for day traders that go in and out within the intraday. But if you're swing trading, if you're holding on a position for more than a couple of days, maybe even weeks, you want to know what's going on, especially because in December the futures expires, right? And so you want to be mindful of where we stand, when to exit, whether you want to roll over your position and whatnot, right? So first and foremost, I got my fibs on this. And as you can see, we had the high way back around last year, sometime in November of 19th, which was the all-time high for the NQ. And then, from that point on, it went down, and then there was some sideways action, and then slowly creeped itself back up. If you're just looking at it from afar, picture what's happening, right? And we've seen that it's gone above the 50% on the fibs. And I talked about this in my past few videos, that once all of these highs are broken, the next leg up is to go hit that high before it comes back down, right? So let's zoom in and see what's going on within the span. I'm going to mark this right here as the all-time high, which is showing around the 61.8% on the fibs, but I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit more just to see what's been happening the past couple of weeks. As you can see, there's been some sideways action after this whole leg up. There's been some sideways action. There were some news events and whatnot, right? But overall, if you're looking at the overall picture, what do we see, right? I mean, I'm always talking about the 50-day 200. Look at that on the chart. This is the 50-day over here. This is the 200. The 50 is above, and it had crossed way back here earlier in the year, right? When that happened, you knew the market was just going up, right? And every time there was a dip, there was just an opportunity buy. Every time there was a dip, because look at the difference between this, right? Even those dips were slow, not long lasting, it was short lasting. And so again, now we had these lower highs. What was going to happen? But then the 200-day held it in. We talked about this. We talked about 200-day holding it in. We talked about Bollinger Band on the lower band holding it in. We talked about how the MACD didn't go as far as the lower low for the MACD, and what ended up happening is it kept on going back up, and then the 50-day kept on and the mid band made it into a support area, right? So if we zoom in here, you'll look at it and you'll say, okay, look, the mid band on the Bollinger Band held it in, then the 50-day moving average held it in, and then it was on its way up to the upper Bollinger Band, and that's what I pointed out, right? And as long as that period right here and the cross coincided with the RSI, on its way up, right, onto the overbought condition, which we didn't see because when it was in the middle of the area, right? This is the 50 mark. This is my average, right? And when I look at it, and pretty much the industry averages, when it's in the 70s mark, that's in the overbought condition. But we saw that, you know, the MACD was on its way to cross over the zero line, and it did. And what did we see? We talked about it. We said it's going to go up and up and up. And anytime you see a down leg, that's just profit taking individuals. You want to get in long until it continues. And then what do we see now? We're looking at this little touch right here, and what I'm anticipating is there's going to be some push downwards. If there's a cross right over here, if there's a cross, obviously we see some sort of difference here, because the RSI is pointing upwards and we're touching each other, but this could be a false signal, and that could just mean that, okay, you know what, profits are being taken, people are not trading, holiday season's around the corner, maybe there might be a slow move down. And then what ends up happening, if you look on the bigger picture on the MACD, we still haven't gone as high as this number, which is the 440 on the MACD. As you can see, we're pretty much hovering on this area, and right now this was the mark that was the previous, right, that it broke, and then this was the high. So what could end up happening is, if you look at this and you see this particular incident right here where it touches each other but then just scoots up, we may see that over here. Okay, and the reason why I say that is because a couple of folds, right? We're talking about, you know, the mid-band holding support. We got the 50-day right here trying to hold support, and we have the 50% on the fib, which could be a support area, right? So even if it does come down over here, all of this is just being support, and that will just drive itself up to the upper band. And when that happens, there's, you know, that's pretty much like the Santa Claus rally, right? That every year that happens. Sometimes, you know, everybody's thinking, hey, you know what, maybe let me ride on it, not miss it. But when that gets kicked in, we're looking at going all the way to the highs, right? And when that happens, remember I talked about the all-time high, which is the 16767. It's not too far away. Okay, so there's going to be some periods where it might come down here, hold support, because you have a lot of this support, you have a lot of this support, you have a lot of this support, you got the 50-day and the mid-band, right? So a lot of support area, but I don't see any resistance on the top, right? The only resistance I see is the 61.8. Obviously, you know, I'm not looking at volume, and I'm not looking at some of the other things. Volume is very important, but you'll see that when the rally kicks in. And if you were to take it back a little bit further, the next resistance point would be right around here, which is very close to the highs, right? The highs, which is perfectly fine, because all of this is just a short, you know, points away from the highs. And what's ends up going to happening is it will break and go and touch that high before it comes down. All right, so be mindful of that. This is what's happening right now. With the holiday season, I'm thinking that this area would be a support, and then, you know, target in the next few days right over here, and then try to break the high and then come back down, and that's the ultimate goal. Let me know your thoughts. If you have any questions, what your thoughts on this NQ. Obviously, this is a lot of dependency on news cycles, various different stocks, but because it's at the end of the year, it's pretty much predictable. PriceIsKing.com. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.